All right, we're going to have prayer, and then Paul Kelly's going to lead us in the flag salute. If you'd all stand, please.
Father, I thank you so much to be surrounded by all these people, called by you to serve you in this area that we call our judicial system, our whole area of governance, Lord. The idea of punishing evildoers, and then our role in that in America. We thank you so much for the blessing we have and our capacity in that, being a representative republic. Lord God, I ask you to bless this meeting, and for your glory's sake, may everything be right and true. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, we're going to do announcements now. Bob Donahue's on the list. Jerome Montgomery's on the list. Does anyone else need to get in line to make an announcement after that? Okay, very quickly, just want to remind you to please renew. Is it for me? Tell them I'm busy. Is that you, Gil? We're going to institute a $1 donation per ring. So the longer it takes you to turn it off, the more dollars have to go in the oak pack bucket in the back, okay? From now on, we got thumbs. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oh, we're going to get rich. We're going to pay for the banquet in 2 weeks. Is Bob Lynn here? Bob, you're going to help us pay for this banquet. All right. $1 per ring. Okay, so please renew your memberships. Ladies and gentlemen, oklahomacpac.org. You can do that online, or you can write a check to Susan on this side or Susan on that side. We also have raffle tickets for the banquet. So if you'd like a chance to win 3 days, 2 nights down at Beaver's Bend in a really nice cabin with a hot tub and a fireplace and all that good stuff, you can get raffle tickets from this Susan over here. And you don't have to be at the banquet to win, although your ticket has to be at the banquet to win. So if you've got 20 tickets and you're not going to the banquet, you better find somebody who's willing to represent you honestly, unlike some politicians, to get your raffle ticket won. Speaking of the banquet, we need you to purchase your tickets to the banquet so that we have a head count. We know how many places how much food to order and all that stuff. We have over 100 people registered already. We were close to 200 last year, so invite your friends from church that you want to teach the truth, and bring them to the best church service you'll attend all year long. We are planning some really good stuff for that. What else? Okay, let's talk about the agenda for the next couple of weeks for our group and groups like us. At this meeting next week, our guest speaker will be Alton Carter. He is a youth minister working in Stillwater. But what's interesting about Alton is that he was an orphan and he grew up in foster care, kind of had a very rough life, rough start. But even God can use young men like him to become leaders and teachers and disciple makers in the kingdom. He's written a really interesting book called The Boy Who Carried Bricks. Did I say that right? So he'll be here to talk about his history and what he's learned kind of growing up and share that with us. He'll have copies of his books here. He's our guest next week. Now, 2 weeks from today, that is February the 8th, is Rose Day at the Capitol. And there's a lot going on at the Capitol that day, not just Rose Day. So we are going to move our meeting from here to there. We are not going to meet here. We're going to meet at the Capitol. Did you all hear me? Yes. In 2 weeks, where will this meeting be? Yes. At the Capitol. And it's going to start a little early, 9:30, on the second floor in the Hall of Governors. So when you walk in the door, you're on the second floor, you hang a left, and then you hang a left, and there's all these governors' busts. Some of them need to be removed and thrown away. But that's where we're going to meet. And you'll get your marching orders from Dob Abonahu, who is now going to talk to us about what we're going to do on February the 8th.
I don't want that to stick, all right? Bob is fine. All right, yes. February 8th. I hope you do put it on your calendars. Want to make it a very full day and use your labor. Want to value your time, be good stewards of your time, and ask you to do multiple things that day. I'm going to put out a message on that, because it is a lot of detail and everything, right? But we'll take advantage of your time all day long. Are you guys with me? Can you come out that day? Yes. I'm taking the day off work to come do it. Appreciate if you can do it as well.
That's what I was going to say, is this guy uses all of his leave time to help at the Capitol. So if he can do it, you guys can do it. Porter Davis. Porter's going to talk to us about open government because we still have 2 weeks left to get it done in the House.
Yes, you should have gotten in the OCPAC newsletter this week already information about requesting the House to change their rules to make sure that all the bills a representative wants heard get a fair hearing in committee and a recorded vote, and if they pass committee to get a fair hearing and a recorded vote on the House floor. By giving the committee chairs dictatorial power to arbitrarily kill bills, it cuts the feet out under representative government. We are getting together this week a specific email you can cut and paste and send to Representative Calvey and Representative Moore and others to help remind them about the issues. If any of them tell you they don't have time to hear all the bills, tell them that's what they get paid for. A committee chair can bring up a bill and it can take a vote with no discussion and be voted down in less than 5 minutes. So that's just all bogus stuff. But that's the heart of so much of the corruption that happens in the state legislative process. I was elected over 30 years ago and have seen it happen ever since, and that's how they do it. So look in your email this week from OCPAC to get your specific instructions on that. Also, the OK Grassroots online community has started up. I'd like for you all to go there online at okgrassroots.org. We're going to be talking about all these issues that Bob had mentioned. There's so many issues that need to be dealt with, and we're trying to get a community where we can have forums and places where we can deal with all of these things and let everybody see what's going on and not have to go website to website. We'll be linking to all of them, but we want to help have discussion so everybody can see what's going on and we can have a unified front and give the good guys in the legislature some needed support to get the right things done. Thank you. That's okgrassroots.org.
All right. I feel like preaching. I have a lot of things to say, but goodness, we have 2 guests, so let's get on with it. I'm going to give Representative Kevin Calvey from Oklahoma City some chance to talk about his 3 favorite bills. I want to be ready with the microphone to quickly ask him some questions, and then he's got a jet for a very important date with his wife. And then we'll hear from our next representative. Please welcome Representative Kevin Calvey.
Thank you, and it's great to be here, and I will talk fast because you wouldn't turn this lady down for a date, if she was your wife. And we, because of church obligations, we don't get a date night this week, so this is it, date lunch. So, okay, the first bill I want to talk to you about, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. It is a property rights bill. It is, I asked you to write this down, House Bill 1691. What this bill does is addresses a very serious problem with code enforcement in our municipalities. Code enforcement in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, right? If your neighbor's not mowing their grass and stuff like that, they can get a notice that they have to, mow the grass or get the trash out of the yard, things like that. That's all fine and dandy. In the past, the way that worked is, they'd clean it up and, they'd work with people and get it done. Well, a few years ago, some of the cities figured out, we can put this into hyperdrive and gouge people for a lot of money. And so they have been doing that. You're supposed to have a deadline in order to get that done, and then you can show them that you've done it. Well, we'll just see how you do over the next several weeks, and they just never let you off the hook. It's like you don't own your own property, and they're sticking it to people, and they can put a lien on your house if you try to object. If you try to object, you don't get to go to real court. You have to go to the city's own cash register court in front of a judge paid for by the city, chosen by the city, who is supposed to rule on something where the city has money riding on it. How fair is that? And then the second thing this bill addresses is the cities have gone one step further, and in the last couple of years have started to use exterior property maintenance codes to enforce criminal charges against property owners, not for serious things like if you had, deliberate, like if you were running an extension cord from one house to the other outside, something super dangerous like that. That should be illegal. But peeling paint on your house or a tiny crack in the window in the back or something like that. I know a lawyer out in the Midwest City area who got a summons to court because they said he had a crack in a window in a shed in the back of his yard. What was the city doing in the back of his yard to begin with? I personally have seen when I've been going to help clients, city crews going around door to door, going around and checking things and writing them down and getting ready to send people a summons. They mail you the summons. By the way, it's not impacted me personally or anything like that. had people come to me as an attorney and say they're getting a summons in the mail, and if you don't show up for court on that given day, let's say the post office doesn't deliver it on time. Has that ever happened to you? Sure has happened to me. Or for whatever reason you were out of town, didn't get it, a warrant is issued for your arrest because you got peel and paint on your house. So this is called the No Jail for Paint Act. And I've introduced some version of this last couple of years, and the City of Oklahoma City and the Municipal League and the Code Enforcement Association have been able to get it defeated. But now we have some additional allies. The county treasurers are sick of having to collect these bogus liens, and so the County Treasurers Association is strongly in favor of this bill, as are, I'm hoping, you all will be, and a number of other people concerned about property rights. Somebody asked me about this has anything to do with Agenda 21 earlier. I don't know why the cities are doing this. I suspect it's just simple gouging people for more money. But certainly if one was going to try to enact some sort of takeover of your property and all that, this would be an awfully convenient way to do it. And so this is a way to fight back against an overreach by municipal governments. So I'd ask your support for that. Maybe John can get an email out about that bill, House Bill 1691, and we're going to make a strong push to get that done. This is bedrock private property rights. Second bill is one that is still kind of in a nascent form, education savings accounts. It's a way of school choice. That's House Bill 2295. That is still a work in progress. You may recall there were two ESA bills last year, one of which many homeschoolers, like my wife and I are homeschoolers, had some concerns about, the other of which they supported and had no concerns about. This is right now the way it was with the second bill, the one carried by Representative Jason Nelson. I may end up not even be the one carrying it, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because I think the more choices that people have for being able to educate their children, the better, because it doesn't allow government to indoctrinate children in the schools. So I think that's a blow for liberty, for the side of liberty as well. And the third one, and I had the number written down, I can't remember it now, but you got it, John?
House Bill 1699.
99, okay. Many of you know, I've not exactly been bashful about it, that we have a very, very serious problem with our state Supreme Court. They are result-oriented. They make up the law as they go along. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They ban the Ten Commandments. They cost every single small business owner in the state last year over 3.5% of their payroll because of one decision striking down a workers' comp bill, workers' comp reform bill, which, by the way, that bill benefited both injured workers, getting them money faster, and employers by reducing their premiums. But who it did not help was the workers' comp lawyers who dominate the way we get people on the Supreme Court to begin with. So it's a crooked system. I'll just lay it out there. It's a elitist system about how we put people on the Supreme Court, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But what this bill does is simply says, there's nowhere in the state constitution that says how many people are on the Supreme Court. As you may know, we have two different high courts in the state. One does criminal stuff, called the Court of Criminal Appeals. The other is the Supreme Court, which does civil stuff. The Court of Criminal Appeals only has 5 judges. The Supreme Court has 9. So this bill would just say, we're going to lop off 4 of the 9 Supreme Court justices and go to 5. It's a budget-saving measure. It does, and I happen to be the subcommittee chair on their budget this year, which is, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, it's a budget-saving measure, and we're going to do it. Now, I recognize who's going to make the ruling as to whether this is constitutional. It really is constitutional. We've researched it. But who's going to make the ruling on that? Probably the same Supreme Court that's going to be affected. So we'll see, but I think it is an important thing we do. Last couple of years I've introduced bills for judicial reform to change the way we put people on the Supreme Court. My preferred way to do that is by direct elections by the people, which 21 states do already, and there's the opposition to this, this will lead to corruption and all that. Really, if you think elections are corrupt, why don't we just ban democracy? Let's just have some elitist group appoint the governor and the legislature and mayors and everybody else, if you think that. That's a silly thing. There's no evidence that it leads to corruption. In fact, Oklahoma ranks lower than most of the states that have judicial elections on the scale objectively looking at judicial competence and judicial partiality. We are worse than most states that do elections on that ranking scale. So now I did not introduce that bill again this year because I have decided that the House of Representatives just doesn't want to vote on it. A lot of the people, and so I'm just don't think it could get done that way. But I've been talking with some people about doing an initiative petition, and I will keep you posted on that. But if we did it, a little over a year ago, there was a poll done on this. 79% of the public wanted this, and only 16% were opposed to having elections for members of the state Supreme Court. And so I'm very confident if it gets on the ballot, with any amount of support, it would pass. And we're talking with some people who could fund this, and we'd certainly ask for your active involvement if that goes forward. With that, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for what you do here at OPAC.
Stay put. Let me ask you a couple of questions. On 1699, the Supreme Court judges, the way that bill is written right now, which four would we be lopping out?
It doesn't really specify, and I probably will, have to.
I thought it did.
Specify.
I thought you had picked the districts where we would keep and which ones we would cut.
It's almost like it doesn't matter at this point. So, which ones? So, okay, Charlie.
A suggestion would be the first 5 that rule it's constitutional get to stay.
Yeah.
We were just wondering about the language in the bill about property rights, if he knows what the language is in that.
It's a 26-page bill, so I can't.
It is online.
Right
you
now.
you can download it from oklahomahouse.gov.
Right.
Any other questions?
House Bill
for Mr. Calvey?
1691. So.
Is there going to be any attack on the Judicial Nominating Committee this year?
Well, that's what I was just mentioning. The first of all, I wouldn't call it an attack. I'd call it a reform, a very necessary reform. I think they've attacked us. I mean, I don't know what you call it when they arbitrarily make up the law. Personally, I call it a coup d'etat. Right? I think the same thing about the U.S. Supreme Court. Right? When they're making up the law as they go along, Thomas Jefferson said, if you give the judiciary total independence, then they will view the Constitution as a thing of wax in their hands. That's a direct quote. Thing of wax in their hands. Has that not happened at the U.S. Supreme Court? Is that not what Roe versus Wade is and Obergefell and many other decisions they've done where they just made up the law as they went along? And our state Supreme Court, in some respects, is actually worse. Let me tell you how bad they are. When we pass pro-life laws, the abortion industry sues to challenge them almost every time, right? You know where they sue? They don't go to federal court anymore. They come to Oklahoma State Court because they got a better chance of winning in Oklahoma State Court. Our state Supreme Court is more pro-abortion than the U.S. Supreme Court. Isn't that awful? So that's the proof is, that's not just me saying it, it's our enemies saying that, right? The pro-abortion, the abortion industry. They recognize that too. That's why they sue in state court. So I think that'll have to get done by initiative petition because there are too many members of the Oklahoma House of Representatives, including Republicans. The Democrats are solidly all against it, and there's enough Republican members, including some of who are attorneys. I'm an attorney. I love being an attorney. I'm proud to be one, but I'm not proud of the way that our profession acts in these kind of things. And some of the ones who are attorneys are too afraid to take on the Supreme Court or have other reasons to vote no. And so a majority of our caucus voted toward the end of last session that they did not want to vote on another type of reform that we did. They did an internal caucus poll, and the majority of people, including many who would have voted yes, probably most of them, if they had been had put it up on the board, they would have voted yes, but they voted that they did not want it to allow it to come to a vote. So it is what it is. I've decided that it's just not worth it, and I don't want to go through that song and dance anymore. So I've been talking with people who have plenty of money and who want to see this reform get done about doing an initiative petition. And now for date lunch. Good to see you, brother.
Thank you. All right, before you take off on your date, education savings accounts, money back to parents so that they can decide where to send their children. Mr. Calvey, this is something that in principle we definitely support. There is a danger in this bill that we have just refiled, and it needs some work. We just want to bring your attention to it. This bill has a lot of strings attached to the money. It's going to require parents to sign contracts that they may not in good conscience want to sign. It's going to require that they provide certain standardized test scores back to the state who are going to continue to look into their home and supervise what's going on with the children. So some of these strings need to be cut or you won't have the support of homeschool families like ours or groups like this. So cut that stuff out, clean it up, and we'll be there for you.
Right. I filed this, it's kind of in a shell bill form right now, but I share those same concerns very strongly. As I said, we homeschool. And so, yeah, I do want school choice, and I recognize not everybody can homeschool, and I want to be able to help people who want to send their kids to private schools, but as well as public charter schools. Those are good options as well. But I do recognize those concerns, and I do share them.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up. Representative Lewis Moore, representing a pretty good chunk of Edmond and Northeast Oklahoma County. Come and tell us what you're working on, sir. Welcome, Representative Lewis Moore. I didn't know you needed a podium. You should have said something.
No, this is great. I didn't know my friend was going to be here. Some people confuse me for him, and a lot of those are bad things, so it's usually okay. I see the Jackson family. Good to see you. All right. Hey, so I'll just tell you, I'm going through a video series. I've watched the Constitution as a Solution about 7 times. Had my family watch it. If anybody here hasn't seen that, the JBS series is very, very good. It's helped me immensely. And so I'm going through another one through the Constitution Institute. And one of the things that I took a picture of was the purpose of government: to restrain the exercise of sin, to enforce God's standard of right and wrong, and to maintain order. So those are, I'm trying to make sure I see that multiple times so that it sticks. I'm on the Judiciary A and B committee, which is my twin Kevin Calvey's committee. I think he put me on there so I'm his body double, unbeknownst to me. I'm the chairman of the Insurance Committee, and I'm on Elections and Ethics Committee. Now I'm kind of beginning to figure out why that might be that as well. And then I'm also on Transportation Committee, and part of that was because of the Eastern Oklahoma Loop or Turnpike section over there, and also infrastructure reasons, because there's 2 things that businesses want in the state for economic development, and that is good roads and good education. That's what they are most concerned about. So infrastructure is a big deal. So the bills that I'm looking at first and foremost, and when he started talking about code enforcement, I was going, I've got a code enforcement bill. See, they never let you know who else has other bills, so you only get a few. You only get like 8, but if you really exercise to 8, it takes a lot of time and effort. But they don't try to eliminate duplication, so that if there is duplication, that's just fewer bills to be heard. But most bills aren't very in-depth, and so when people say there's 3,000 bills, a lot of them are very inconsequential in that regard. There are some code enforcement folks here from Edmond, so I thought, well, Kevin, he's got my same bill. Well, it wasn't exactly as friendly a bill to the code enforcement people as what mine is. So I appreciate you guys coming from Edmond, Oklahoma. So one of the things that we were looking at on code enforcement, they are basically law enforcement. Code is law enforcement. And in some areas, they face some danger. They wear a badge. And some people aren't always very friendly to them. I don't think they get a lot of tea or coffee invites. But the ones in Edmond are fairly friendly, but they do meet, and so I was talking to them early on here about some of the dangers that they face. We didn't want them necessarily to have to carry a gun. So if we have a code enforcement bill where we tighten up the language, where it's a misdemeanor right now if they're assaulted, harmed, and if we went to a felony, that might get people's attention. I'm not even sure that would. In the current climate that we're in, where people that carry a badge are seen as a welcome target. So I'm glad that you guys are here. All right. Now, all my bills, I filed them later on, so they're all in sequential order, Charlie. So it's easy to follow. I like that. All right, so there's 1712 through 1719 are the primary ones. And so the first one I had is the Health Insurance Freedom Act. And as the chairman of the Insurance Committee, I want, how the administration in D.C. is talking about getting rid of borders as far as health insurance. So if we remove that border constraint to what is offered in the state, in our regulations or mandates are more burdensome than other states, the states with the least amount of weight of mandates and regulations to carry, they can price their product or they can innovate their product in the free market in a way that is going to sell, and they will basically remove the premiums out of our state and take them back to wherever their domestic company's headquarters are and that won't be good for necessarily our insurance economy in the state. We're talking about a lot of money, billions of dollars. So one of the things that this bill allows the free market exercise of domestic insurance carriers to be able to innovate and market their products without the weight of mandates or regulations. You say mandates, that is mammograms, prostate checks, colonoscopies. There's dozens of these. And I asked, well, how much does that cost? And, that like we just, the autism bill passed, well, they're saying, well, that's only like 50 cents. Well, I know, but when you have 70 of them, eventually we're talking about real money. And basically what a mandate does is you're prepaying for that coverage. So if you don't need that coverage every year, you're basically prepaying for it. And if you're mandating coverage for kids, men, and women, well, I haven't found a trisexual, or I'm guessing pretty soon there's going to be all kinds of stuff out there. But this really is safe for kids, though, Jackson's. Okay, this is going to be, we're going to be okay. Okay, so you're prepaying for stuff for other people, and it's a pooling effect is what insurance is about. But you shouldn't have to pay more than what you need to. And the cost of insurance has gotten so exorbitant that it is equaling some people's house payments. And there's a lot of people that had coverage before, insurance coverage, they cannot afford it today. We want people to be able to afford it. Before you used to have coverage, you used to be able to get care, you might not have insurance coverage. Today, they're driving people to have the insurance coverage, but you may not get access. That's not very good. And there's a number of providers that are going out of business. There's hospitals that are shutting down in Oklahoma and having a hard time, many of which you don't even know about. They're just on the fringe. They're like in double secret probation with the Department of Health. They know they have a problem. The Department of Health knows they have a problem, but they haven't yet been suspended from doing business because they want to keep them open and hopefully be able to bring their services back up to speed. Their surgery usually has to do with the surgery emergency rooms and that kind of thing. They're not up to speed. They're not the right size. They're not necessarily cleanliness, but there's some aspect of their codes that they're not meeting. And like Chickasha just passed a 1-penny sales tax to fix their emergency room and surgery center that was shut down, and it'll be shut down. Even if you do get the money, it can be up to 2 years to get it up to speed, because you have to do the architect engineering work, the construction, and then your community is hurting. So we want people to be able to have coverage. All right, then uninsured motorists. We got 26% of the people in Oklahoma without coverage, and what we wanted to do was switch DPS from being the enforcement on that necessarily and take it back to OID, which is the Oklahoma Insurance Department, where they have leverage on those insurance carriers who are not providing the information as to who doesn't have coverage in real time to the law enforcement. It was only $150,000 that they could have spent to get up to speed. So we've had people without coverage because basically DPS wasn't able to, and I know they're short money too. I just went to their deal yesterday, and that was a big deal. But we still need real-time information. A lot of people most of us might get your coverage for 6 months at a time. Some people get it a quarter at a time. Some people even get it month to month. If you get it a quarter at a time and yet then quit paying, some people will quit paying after a month. So now they've still got a live certificate that says they've got coverage. Well, but they don't have coverage. And one of those people hit me one time, and probably some other people. Has anybody else been hit by somebody or involved with an uninsured motorist? It's not very good. Mine was a Iraqi war veteran coming out of the hospital, Presbyterian. My car was parked in the OCPA parking lot. I had just walked out of the car, and this car came barreling across the intersection, and he just drifted off. He was asleep, and the guy that was supposed to be taking care of him was following him. That's pretty close. You know, that's pretty good. He's not able to stop the car in front of him. I mean, but he was there to witness everything. So I hear this glass and wood crunching. I turn around and I see my car pushed over, and I see this truck up in the air about 10 feet. This big pickup truck going through the fence, tumbling a couple hundred more feet and coming to a stop. The driver had a back brace on. His truck was all messed up. The guy stops along the side of the road, goes and checks on his buddy. I said, you know, he probably wasn't supposed to be driving, was he? And it cost me like $2,500. My car, I didn't have a car for a month. But it's not very fun when that happens, and we want to the main thing is your car insurance will drop in premium if we can get these people under control. It's just, I asked the people at the insurance department how much would it drop. It's somewhere between 25 to 35%. Would that be okay? All right. All right. And now there's another probably 25% to your bill because we're now a wind and hail state. That's not very cool. We had 2 big hailstorms. Okay, they were really big. You know, the hail was big, the storm was big, 2 of them within 3 years. Did anybody have their house or business or car affected by those like big baseball, softball size hail? That was kind of a big deal. But how do we get rid of that designator as a wind and hail state? Are we always going to have it? You know, that's, we're going to kind of try to see how long you have to have that, because they're just, basically our homes and our autos are taking 25 to 50% rate increases because of that. And we want to try to alleviate that if we can. I also have a bill called PASS, and that is Patriotic Access to Students in Schools. So there are a number of organizations, military organizations and such, but Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, things like that, that are not getting access to the kids, and character development, training, and leadership is a big deal. If we want to continue to progress towards a more conservative, more patriotic society and bring back some traditional things, we need access to the kids in the schools, and there's many principals that are not letting these groups talk to kids outside of the instructional time in their schools, and hopefully this will change that. And then there's another thing that can help reduce costs is there's some pharmacogenetics capability today, and in nursing homes, does anybody here want to venture a guess how many meds somebody that's in a nursing home is on? 7, 20. All right, those are good. It's double digits. It's somewhere between, it's 10 to 14. So I go to these nursing homes and do some work, and the person gets typically 15 pills in the morning and 10 at night, and for all the prescriptions, because just because you have a prescription doesn't mean it's just one pill. So some of them on meds, some of your meds will metabolize in your body, which means they're doing the thing they're supposed to do. Some of them are inert, and then sometimes they're toxic to you, and that's not very good. Sometimes that can end in being like a pain pill being a rapid metabolizer. You might be a rapid metabolizer for some meds, and so that means it's metabolizing twice as fast. So where it should be a time release, it's just you're getting hit on it all the time, all at one sudden. And that's where some people, kids and stuff, will die because of some of those meds. You can find out if a medicine is something that metabolizes, does what it's supposed to do, by taking just a quick swab in your mouth, and 48 hours later they can tell you what your code is so that you can find that out. Okay? So if you're on Medicare, then Medicare pays for it because they want to try to drop the drug usage by about 20%. And we're able to do that and also bring better care if we're able to do that. So that's what we're looking at. All right. Then one of the things that we're going to try to look at too is encouraging the governor to come up with a plan where we have Insure Oklahoma, we got Sooner Care, we have kids that are on foster care, we got almost 9,400 of them. They cost about $18,000 apiece, but they get health care. And then we have people that are on Medicaid and things like that, and at DOC facilities and county jails. Well, all of them have different health plans. We would like to see some kind of consolidation and consistency in that, and maybe look at a private carrier bidding on that for the pharmacy part, for the claims part, for the health insurance part, and see if we can drive the cost down, because that is an enormous amount of cost. And then with the health insurance going up, it's just blown these people's budgets out of the water. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I will just tell you real quick before we go to questions. I just was at the Commerce Department, met with the appropriations folks, and they said that in 2016, 7 of the Oklahoma's 11 statewide big sectors, super sectors, recorded job growth. Overall job growth still remains above pre-recession levels. Leisure and hospitality added 7,200 more jobs. Education and health services increased in 4,100 jobs. Construction added 4,300 jobs. Oklahoma's doing okay. We're actually doing better than okay. I think Airbus is in town today to look at building a facility. Airbus is one of the biggest companies in the world. They've got a number of more than 50 patents. They would be a big deal if they were to come here. Personal income growth, we're 6th in the country, and we're 4th for lowest cost of doing business. We're 28th in lower rates for industrial electric rates. 6th lowest cost of living in America. 5th lowest tax burden nationally. So we're doing okay. They want more revenue. We want more revenue. We need more people that are working. That's the way to raise revenue, not raising taxes. So we're not, most of them, if they want to raise taxes, they've come to the wrong group this year, I think. I think we can still make do. There's still a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse that we can take care of, and I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Do you know of any bills that will get rid of tax breaks and all that for energy companies, meaning wind generators, oil companies, etc.? And if not, why not?
No, that's one of the top things that we're going to be looking at are the tax credits on the wind energy companies. And Mrs. Snodgrass, who put this together, Debbie Snodgrass, who used to work for Tom Price at Chesapeake, a very sharp lady. One of the things she said was, I don't know who put these things together. They don't negotiate very well. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We don't really have an A-team on some of the, we need to find some people that are a little bit more competent on that, because tax credits aren't a forever thing. And they've been a forever thing, and they shouldn't be. So at some point in time, here, wind energy companies get they're getting a 23% or so tax credit from the federal government too. They think they can still compete after, and they know that we're coming after it this year, and that's a lot of money. It'll be it'll be at least $2 billion worth of tax credits. They want to put in 5,000 more wind turbines in Oklahoma, and if they can support themselves, maybe. I don't want to really necessarily see 5,000 more. Everybody loves them if they're on your property. If they're on your property, they're like an upside-down oil well. They're great. If your neighbor's got it and it's not on your property, you're probably not very happy about it.
Representative Moore, thank you for your bill on judges. It's on my list, just so you know, very much so. I have a question for you on another bill you may not have seen yet, but there's a lot of noise being made about Senator Smalley's bill that looks like it's going to take away parental rights and the issue of medical care and things like that. It could be used that way. Have you heard of this? Have any thoughts on it?
No, it's not related to vaccinations or anything. It's just something different.
Medical treatment.
Okay.
That would include vaccines as well as everything else. Mm-hmm. And even the idea of religion comes into play. It's getting scratched out.
He's from Lincoln County. You'd think you'd know better, but no. Right off the top of my head, I would not be for that. No.
I'm Jim, and is there any movement to expand the authority of the state auditor to audit people like the Turnpike Authority and the schools, etc.?
The Turnpike says they assure me they're getting audited. Yeah. I don't know why they tell me that, because they know I'm going to be a little bit more skeptical than that. The problem really isn't with the state auditor's office. OMAS, the Office of Management Enterprise Services, that's where Preston Dorflinger works, that's an appointee of the governor, they've been taking over a lot of the auditing duties from the auditor's office, and they probably wouldn't be, in line to do that. But if you ask your state representative and state senator to press for that, we can get whatever, I have never asked them for a copy of their audit, but we could certainly ask them for a copy of the last audit and then go from there as to how detailed it is, whether or not they've done one, how long ago it's been since they've done one. If the state auditor's office did it or could do it, yes, we could find out.
All right, another question over here.
Hi. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
You got a pamphlet called Stolen Government, and I'm wondering, in looking at setting up your rules for this year, if y'all are looking at that and looking to give yourselves more representation by setting up the rules so there's not such a centralization of power.
No, we haven't. We do have a rules committee, but I don't think that we've considered all those things that are in the pamphlet. No.
Here's what's going to happen, and we just want you to be prepared. Kind of like I had one little nugget of advice for Mr. Calvey. Here's one for you. On day one, before you guys can start business, you will have to say aye or nay to the rules that are proposed by House leadership.
Yes.
And we would like for you to say no if there is no silver bullet or guarantee or some sort of mechanism that will allow you to get one of your bills heard. Otherwise, you have no voice, and no one that you represent has a voice in our government.
I guess that's good reason I'm on the rules committee then.
Right.
Okay.
So what we
I'll
need
find out.
is a rule
Right.
that
I
lets
know that-
everyone have a bill be heard. And so if that's not in the rules package that you're voting on day one, you say, I object, and I make a motion to amend the rules, and I want this put on.
That
I want my
every bill get heard, or everybody have at least one
We
bill?
would like every bill that a legislator requests and demands to be heard.
Because we don't like necessarily to have every Democrat bill be heard.
I understand, but would you rather go on the record and vote down all those bad bills so that you can use that voting record against them and in support of yourself?
I will tell you, a friend of mine was a legislator, and he had one bill heard in 10 years. And they let him hear a bill, and you know what that bill was? That bill was to allow disabled veterans to be able to play bingo. And you know how they got to play bingo? What do you think they did? What kind of automated thing did they come up with to be able to, do you know what I'm talking about? The one-armed bandit Class 2 machines, which led to all the slot machines. Oh, yeah, they let him, yeah, please, go ahead, and I got a bill for you right here. Yes. So, yeah, I've always heard every bill in my committee, but that was the Federalism Committee, and I intend to hear every bill in the Insurance Committee, but I will, when we meet on the rules, we will.
But not everyone is as well intended as you, and that's why we need fair rules in place. So,
yes.
Hey, would everyone please thank Representative Lewis Moore. If we're going to live in a representative republic, we have to have a voice at the Capitol. And it cuts both ways. While there are many bad bills that don't get heard, there's a lot of good bills that don't get heard either. And one of the bills that didn't get a lot of press last year was when Senator Silk wanted to say that, you know what, the penalty for abortion that's in the law right now does not establish justice. Because to go and get an abortion is only a misdemeanor. A small fine, less than 30 days in prison. Of course, we don't even enforce the law. That's another discussion. But the point is there is no justice in the law. And he said, you know what? This is the death of an innocent human being, and that's homicide. So let's change the statute. That bill did not get a hearing. There's no way Senate leadership was going to let that bill get a hearing. Because they're not exactly pro-life the way we are pro-life. So every bill needs to get heard. We have to put these guys on record with their yays and their nays for bad policy and good policy so that we know where they stand. And so that we can have a voice. We've got to push for that. So I hope you were listening, Representative Lewis. Thank you for being here today. I have a quick announcement, and then Brody Black, if you would make your way up here to lead us in a final prayer. This coming Monday night, January the 30th, at the University of Central Oklahoma, a gentleman by the name of Frank Turek is going to be in town delivering a lecture and having a Q&A session with the students. He is famous for a book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. So if you'd like to hear him interact with students, young skulls full of mush who think they know better than he does, that'll be a very interesting evening. Does anyone know what time that starts? 7 o'clock, sponsored by Valid World View at UCO Monday night. And now if everyone will simmer down. I heard a phone, dollar in. Okay. We're closing. No, not until he says amen.
All right, if you'll bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray that you would put your blessing upon everybody present at this meeting. I pray that you would send us forth from here, and that you would give us the just give us the ability to be good witnesses to everybody we come in contact, and that you would help us to be a good, godly influence on our country and our state. In your holy name we pray. Amen.